The US is set to offer Ukraine a security deal in exchange for access to its resources. 3 years into Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Euronews visited the front lines to witness the devastation and hear from those affected.
Syria's interim leaders host a national dialogue conference intended to help establish the country's political future.
The United States is set to offer Ukraine a bilateral agreement aimed at securing the country's future in exchange for shared access to its resources via a reconstruction investment fund. A draft of the proposal, seen by Euronews, shows Ukraine would contribute 50% of the fund's revenues, rising to 66% for any territory liberated from Russian occupation until the contributions reach the sum of $500 billion. The deal would also require Ukraine to contribute twice the amount the US provides in aid, in exchange for a long-term financial commitment to the reconstruction of the country after the war. Tensions between Ukraine and the US escalated after President Donald Trump labeled President Zelensky a dictator, while also sending US officials to hold bilateral talks with Russia. Trump's comments prompted European leaders to come out in defense of Zelensky, with an emergency summit on Ukraine's future and defense scheduled for the 6th of March. The new agreement is expected to be finalized by the 26th of February, though neither the US nor Ukrainian governments have yet commented.
Voting has been completed.
The United Nations General Assembly refused to adopt a U.S. resolution that urges an end to the war in Ukraine. Washington's proposal failed to make mention of Russia's aggression in its invasion that violates the UN Charter. 3 European proposed amendments were made to the U.S.-backed resolution before it was voted on, adding language that firmly acknowledges Moscow's aggression.
Today we mark the 3 years since the beginning of Russia's illegal and unprovoked full-scale invasion of Ukraine. We reiterate our resolute condemnation of this flagrant violation of international law. The General Assembly has demanded an early end to this war of aggression and a just, lasting and comprehensive peace in Ukraine in line with the UN Charter.
Russia voted against the resolution, claiming that Europe did not acknowledge the root causes of the conflict, leading to another anti-Russia piece of paper.
К сожалению, в отсутствие нашей поправки о необходимости искоренения коренных причин конфликта, а также после принятия европейских поправок, его суть оказалась полностью извращена.
The U.S. also voted against the amendments to their proposal, which passed with 93 votes in favor, 18 against, and 65 abstentions. Washington also put forward its resolution to the legally binding UN body, the Security Council, which did pass.
This resolution puts us on the path to peace. It is a first step, but a crucial one of which we should all be proud. Now we must use it to build a peaceful future for Ukraine, Russia, and the international community.
The resolution received 10 votes in favor at the 15-member council. The 5 abstentions came from France, the United Kingdom, Denmark, Greece, and Slovenia.
The Ukrainian army is fighting a decisive battle on the Pokrovsk front line in the Donetsk region of eastern Ukraine. Fears that Russian troops could capture or bypass the nearby city of Pokrovsk and move deeper into the country are higher than ever. Most of the town's population was evacuated. Those remaining are hard to convince. We head to western Donbass. This is Ukraine's major coal mining basin, a crucial industry for the country's energy supply and a potential target for Moscow. The area's oldest mine is operating full swing, with the help of an increasing number of women as more and more men are being mobilized. Oksana fled her hometown of Bakhmut in the Donetsk region. Her father and eldest son were killed in the Russian bombings 2 years after she'd lost her mother and husband to COVID. She found a second breath at the mine and also in this dance school. A choreographer before the war, Oksana now gives dance classes to teenage girls.
I walked exactly same streets of Kyiv 3 years ago in the first hours of Russia's full-scale invasion, and the atmosphere back then was completely different from the way it feels now. There was lots of shock, there was lots of frustration, and there was lots of fear. The streets here in Kyiv were empty as people were hiding and staying in the bomb shelters. Now, today in February 2025, the atmosphere is completely different. Kyiv is welcoming today 13 world leaders and the European Commission who are here to show their support to Ukraine. What has not changed is this feeling of resilience and also the feeling of determination of the Ukrainians to continue defend their country from Russia's war of aggression 3 years on. Sasha Vakulina from Kyiv for Euronews.
Syria's interim leaders have kicked off a long-awaited national dialogue conference intended to help establish the country's political future. De facto President Ahmed al-Shara, the leader of the Islamist insurgent group that toppled Bashar al-Assad, has promised an inclusive political transition. He also said all of Syria's communities were invited to the conference.
إن النصر الذي تحقق وفرحة السوريين قد ساءت أقواما هنا وهناك ويسعون لتقويض منجزات الشعب فعلينا أن نكون حذرين ونواجه بصلابة وقوة وحزم أي من يريد العبث بأمننا ووحدتنا.
The gathering is meant to come up with non-binding recommendations for the country's interim rules ahead of the drafting of a new constitution and formation of a new government. Syria's leadership is hoping to rebuild diplomatic ties with Arab and Western countries and push for the removal of crippling sanctions imposed during al-Assad's rule.
Pope Francis remains in critical condition but has shown a slight improvement in laboratory tests and resumed some work. The Vatican's latest update about the pontiff's health came on Monday as the Catholic and Christian faithful around the world continue to pray for the Pope's health, including in his home country, Argentina.
Querido Francisco, estamos con vos. Como aquel sordo mudo del Evangelio, también nosotros queremos ponernos de pie y nos queremos tomar de la mano de María de Luján, de la que sabemos que sos tan devoto, y te pedimos que no aflojes, porque te necesitamos mucho. ¡Viva el Papa Francisco! ¡Viva el Papa Francisco! ¡Viva el Papa Francisco!
At St. Peter's Square, the Catholic faithful also held a vigil to send best wishes to the Pope. The 88-year-old Francis, who is battling pneumonia in both lungs, has been in critical condition despite showing a slight improvement. His nearly 2 weeks of hospitalization stands as Francis' longest as pontiff.
Former European Commission President José Manuel Barroso has described Germany's likely next Chancellor as a resolute person who understands the country's priorities in terms of the economy and defence.
Friedrich Merz, what I know from him, is a much more, let's say, resolute, determined person, stronger also in his style, with clear ideas. I think he's going to make it clear the priorities for Germany being the economy and defense, which for me it's obvious. That's where the politicians in Germany should focus their attention.
Merz's conservative CDU emerged as the largest party in Sunday's federal elections, although he will now have to begin coalition talks with the centre-left Social Democrats before he can secure his position as Chancellor. Merz has so far outlined 3 key topics in these negotiations: curbing migration, strengthening the economy, and determining Europe's foreign and security policy. He has also pledged to make Europe more independent from the United States, something Barroso described as exceptional.
Friedrich Merz has been an Atlanticist. He's a pro-American. In fact, professional life working also with United States companies and so on. So he has no prejudice against the United States, on the contrary. But considering the latest developments, he thinks it's important to show leadership at European level. And that is what I think Europe needs now.
Merz has, however, emphasised that he will do everything he can to continue a good transatlantic relationship with the United States, even if this may be more difficult with the new Trump administration.